It's the seemingly innocent daily choices that will kill you. Not the obvious dangers we're taught to fear, but the small, habitual decisions you make dozens of times each day without a second thought. These micro-habits, so deeply ingrained in your routine that they've become nearly invisible, are silently carving away at your longevity, potentially robbing you of a decade or more of healthy life. This isn't speculation or fear-mongering. It's the sobering conclusion of groundbreaking research from institutions like Harvard's School of Public Health, the National Institute on Aging, and the Mayo Clinic's Longevity Center. Their collective findings present a disturbing reality. The average American is unwittingly engaging in multiple daily habits that dramatically accelerate biological aging and significantly compress their health span. Dr. Robert Goldman, longevity researcher and founder of the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, puts it bluntly, when we analyze the cellular damage patterns of premature aging, we're finding that approximately 83% stems not from genetics or major health incidents, but from the cumulative impact of seemingly inconsequential daily behaviors. Let me introduce you to Michael, a 44-year-old management consultant from Chicago. By conventional standards, Michael was doing everything right. He didn't smoke. He exercised regularly. He maintained a healthy weight and received glowing reports from his annual physical. My doctor told me I was in excellent shape for my age, Michael recalls. All my biomarkers were well within normal ranges. But beneath the surface of these reassuring metrics, a biological time bomb was silently ticking. At age 46, Michael suffered what his neurologist described as a cascade failure, a sudden and simultaneous deterioration across multiple biological systems. First came crushing fatigue that no amount of rest could alleviate. Then, cognitive difficulties that made his demanding job nearly impossible. Finally, metabolic disruptions that sent his previously normal blood markers into alarming territory. It felt like my body aged 20 years in a matter of months, Michael explains. The most frightening part wasn't just feeling terrible. It was the complete bewilderment of my healthcare team. By all conventional measures, I should have been perfectly healthy. After extensively analyzing every aspect of Michael's lifestyle, Dr. Elizabeth Chen, a specialist in epigenetic medicine at Northwestern University, identified the culprit. Not one dramatic health mistake, but a constellation of micro-habits that had been silently programming his cells for premature deterioration. What makes these habits so dangerous is their perceived innocuousness, explains Dr. Chen. We're psychologically wired to recognize and avoid obvious threats, but these small, repeated behaviors fly completely beneath our awareness radar while fundamentally altering our cellular functioning. Michael's story isn't unique. According to data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, approximately 71% of Americans are engaged in multiple daily habits that significantly accelerate biological aging. Even more concerning, follow-up research reveals that 64% of these individuals have no awareness that these behaviors are harmful. This brings us to a crucial understanding. Longevity isn't primarily determined by momentous health decisions or genetic predispositions, but by the cumulative impact of thousands of small choices made day after day, year after year. Let's examine the first 3 life-shortening microhabits that may be stealing years from your life expectancy right now. Stealth ager, number 1, the metabolic disaster of liquid calories. It seems so harmless. That morning juice, the afternoon soda, the evening's glass of wine. After all, these beverages are such a normalized part of American culture that questioning their impact seems almost absurd. But emerging research suggests these liquid calories may be the single most potent accelerator of metabolic aging in the modern diet. Dr. Mark Friedman, metabolic researcher at the Monell Chemical Senses Center, explains the disturbing mechanism. When calories enter the body in liquid form, they bypass several critical metabolic checkpoints that normally regulate energy processing. This creates what we call a metabolic short circuit, a disruption in the body's ability to properly register and process caloric intake. The consequences of this short circuit extend far beyond simple weight gain. Research published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that regular consumption of liquid calories triggers a cascading stress response in the pancreas that can accelerate pancreatic cellular aging by up to 10% annually compared to control groups. Perhaps most concerning are the findings from a 2024 study at the University of California, which used advanced glycation end product, age analysis, to determine that consuming just 20% of daily calories in liquid form increases markers of vascular aging by approximately 32% over a 5-year period. We're seeing arterial stiffening patterns in 30-year-olds who regularly consume liquid calories that resemble what we would expect in someone 15-20 years older, notes Dr. Friedman. The body processes these calories in a fundamentally different way than solid food, even when the nutritional content is identical. To understand how profoundly these beverages impact your cellular aging, consider this. Research from Princeton University revealed that the metabolic response to consuming 150 calories of soda created cellular stress markers nearly identical to consuming 750 calories of whole food, a 5x amplification effect. Michael's liquid calorie habit, a morning glass of orange juice, afternoon sodas to combat work fatigue, and evening wine, was creating the equivalent metabolic strain of an additional 200 calories daily, despite adding only 400 actual calories to his diet. What makes this habit particularly insidious, Dr. Chen explains, is how these beverages have been normalized as part of a balanced lifestyle. The juice industry has positioned its products as healthy alternatives, creating a perception of wellness around what is essentially a metabolic accelerant. Stealth ager number 2, the silent damage of eating windows that are too long. You've likely heard about intermittent fasting and time-restricted eating as potential health enhancers. What you probably haven't heard is how devastating the opposite pattern can be, extending your daily eating window beyond a critical threshold. Research from the Salk Institute for Biological Studies has identified what appears to be a crucial metabolic boundary. When the time between your first and last calorie of the day exceeds 12 hours, it triggers what scientists call metabolic clock desynchronization, a condition where your peripheral tissue clocks fall out of alignment with your central circadian pacemaker. Dr. Sachin Panda, circadian biologist and pioneer in time-restricted eating research, explains the consequences. When the eating window extends too long, it creates a metabolic scenario where your digestive organs never receive the rejuvenation signals that come from genuine fasting periods. This leads to accelerated cellular aging in the pancreas, liver, and digestive tract. The aging effect is startlingly precise. A longitudinal study published in Cell Metabolism tracked biological aging markers in over 2,000 adults for 7 years and found that each hour of eating window beyond 12 hours correlated with an additional 6 to 9 months of biological aging as measured by DNA methylation patterns. For Michael, whose typical eating window stretched from his 6:30 a.m. breakfast to his 10:00 p.m. late-night snack, a common pattern among busy professionals, this single habit alone was potentially aging him approximately 38-57 months faster than his chronological age. What makes this particularly troubling is how this pattern is reinforced by modern American work culture. We see corporate environments where breakfast meetings start at 7 a.m. and client dinners extend well into the evening, notes Dr. Panda. This creates a structural impediment to maintaining a metabolically appropriate eating window. The damage extends beyond simple aging. When researchers from the University of California, San Diego analyzed inflammatory markers in individuals with extended eating windows, they found elevated levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines typically associated with chronic age-related conditions. These elevated markers were present even when caloric intake and food quality remained constant. It's not just what you're eating, but when you're compressing your consumption in two, emphasizes Dr. Panda. Your organs need genuine rest periods to perform cellular maintenance. Stealth ager number 3, the devastating impact of microdosing light pollution. This may be the most pervasive and least recognized aging accelerator in modern life. The artificial lighting environments that surround virtually every American, from the soft glow of your phone checked first thing in the morning to the ambient light from street lamps filtering through your bedroom curtains, are fundamentally rewiring your cellular aging process. Dr. Charles Cheisler, chief of the Division of Sleep and Circadian Disorders at Brigham and Women's Hospital, calls this phenomenon circadian rhythm fragmentation, the subtle but persistent disruption of your body's master biological clock through irregular light exposure patterns. Light is not just something that helps us see, it's a powerful biological signal that regulates thousands of genes responsible for cellular repair, immune function, and metabolic processes, explains Dr. Cheisler. When we expose ourselves to artificial light at biologically inappropriate times, we're essentially sending confusing signals to these genetic regulatory systems. The research on light pollution's aging effects is both precise and alarming. A landmark study from Northwestern University's Center for Sleep and Circadian Biology found that exposure to just 8 lux of light during normal sleeping hours, equivalent to the dim glow from a digital alarm clock or the ambient light seeping in from street lamps, suppressed melatonin production by an average of 23%. This suppression directly impacts what researchers call the cellular autophagy cycle, your body's crucial nightly process of removing damaged cells and repairing DNA. When this cycle is disrupted by inappropriate light exposure, cellular damage accumulates at an accelerated rate. We can actually quantify the aging impact, notes Dr. Eve Van Cotter, endocrinologist and sleep researcher at the University of Chicago. Each 10% reduction in nighttime melatonin production correlates with approximately 4 or 7 months of additional biological aging per year, based on telomere length analysis. For Michael, whose bedroom contained multiple electronic devices with small indicator lights, whose bathroom breaks during the night exposed him to bright white light, and who frequently checked his bright phone screen first thing upon waking, this single pattern was potentially accelerating his aging by 1 to 2 years per decade. What makes this habit particularly destructive is its near universality in modern life. A 2024 survey by the National Sleep Foundation found that 94% of Americans are exposed to significant artificial light during biologically inappropriate hours, with the average bedroom containing 4 to 7 sources of light pollution. Most people have no awareness that the small red indicator light on their TV, the dim glow from their digital clock, or the light seeping under their bedroom door is having any biological effect, explains Dr. Cheisler. But from your cell's perspective, these seemingly insignificant light sources are powerful signals disrupting critical regenerative processes. Stealth ager number 4. The cellular damage from sitting in sequential blocks. The dangers of a sedentary lifestyle are well documented, but emerging research reveals a crucial distinction that has been almost entirely overlooked. It's not just the total amount of sitting that damages your health, but the pattern in which that sitting occurs. Dr. James Levine, endocrinologist and pioneer in inactivity research at the Mayo Clinic, has identified what appears to be a critical threshold in sedentary behavior. When sitting continues uninterrupted beyond 47 minutes, it triggers a cascade of metabolic changes that significantly differs from multiple shorter sitting periods, even when the total sedentary time is identical. This distinction is critical for understanding the accelerated aging seen in many Americans who technically exercise regularly, but spend the majority of their days in extended sitting patterns. Research published in the American Journal of Physiology, Endocrinology, and Metabolism revealed the precise mechanism prolonged, uninterrupted sitting triggers a phenomenon called muscular electrical silence, a state where large muscle groups essentially shut down, dramatically decreasing glucose uptake and lipid metabolism while simultaneously increasing insulin resistance. After approximately 50 minutes of continuous sitting, we observe what amounts to a metabolic brownout across multiple systems, explains Dr. Levine. Lipoprotein lipase activity, the enzyme responsible for breaking down fat in the bloodstream, decreases by approximately 90%, while muscular glucose uptake drops by nearly 40%. These changes do not occur to nearly the same degree when sitting is broken up, even if total sedentary time remains identical. The longevity impact is substantial. Researchers at Columbia University Medical Center tracked the biological aging markers of 3,700 adults over an 8-year period and found that those whose sitting occurred primarily in extended blocks aged approximately 2.4 years faster than those with identical total sitting time distributed in shorter intervals. For Michael, whose typical workday involved back-to-back meetings and focused work sessions, often lasting 2 to 3 hours without standing, this single habit was silently accelerating multiple markers of metabolic aging despite his regular evening workouts. The conventional wisdom that you can offset long periods of sitting with dedicated exercise has been thoroughly debunked by recent research, notes Dr. Levine. While the metabolic damage from extended sitting blocks occurs independently of fitness level or exercise habits, what makes this pattern particularly problematic is how deeply it's embedded in modern American workplace culture, where extended focus without unnecessary movement is often valorized as dedication and productivity. Stealth ager number 5, the immune aging effect of temperature comfort zones. This aging accelerator is perhaps the most counterintuitive. The carefully climate-controlled environments that define modern American living, the precisely regulated 72-degree homes, offices, and vehicles that keep us perpetually comfortable, are systematically dismantling one of your body's most critical longevity systems. Dr. Susanna Soberg, biologist and leading researcher in environmental physiology at the University of Copenhagen, explains, human biology evolved in environments with significant temperature variability. This variability activates what we call hormetic stress responses, beneficial adaptive processes that strengthen cellular resilience and slow aging. When we eliminate these temperature fluctuations, we remove a crucial stimulus for these longevity pathways. The science behind this phenomenon centers on specialized cellular proteins called heat shock proteins and cold shock proteins, molecular chaperones that help repair damaged proteins, strengthen cell membranes, and activate powerful anti-inflammatory pathways. These proteins are dramatically upregulated when the body experiences temperature variation, but remain dormant in consistently comfortable environments. Research from the Joslin Diabetes Center at Harvard Medical School quantified the aging impact. Individuals living primarily in climate-controlled environments within a narrow temperature range, 68-76 degree Celsius, exhibited telomere shortening rates approximately 28% faster than those regularly exposed to broader temperature variations, even after controlling for all other lifestyle factors. We're effectively bubble wrapping ourselves against the very environmental stimuli that activate our longevity genes, notes Dr. Soberg. From an evolutionary perspective, mild thermal stress represents a crucial signal that keeps multiple regenerative systems active. For Michael, whose climate-controlled existence moved from air-conditioned home to heated car to regulated office and back again, this lack of thermal variability was silently deactivating critical cellular protection mechanisms designed to prevent premature aging. The age-accelerating impact is particularly pronounced in Americans over 40, as the body's natural ability to generate internal temperature variations decreases with age, making environmental variation increasingly important for maintaining these protective pathways. Stealth ager number 6. The cellular dehydration. You can't feel. Water is the medium in which all cellular processes occur, yet emerging research suggests that most Americans exist in a state of chronic cellular dehydration that accelerates aging through a process called molecular crowding. The increased concentration of proteins and cellular components that occurs when intracellular water is insufficient. Dr. Dana Cohen, integrative medicine physician and co-author of Quench Beat Fatigue, Drop Weight, and Heal Your Body Through the New Science of Optimum Hydration, explains this overlooked mechanism. There's a critical distinction between having adequate blood volume and having properly hydrated tissues. Many Americans are maintaining sufficient blood volume, while their cells are essentially shriveling at the microscopic level. This distinction helps explain why conventional hydration advice, typically focused solely on total water consumption, fails to address the cellular dehydration epidemic. Research from the University of Michigan's Hydration Science Lab reveals that the pattern and timing of water consumption may be equally important as the total volume. When water is consumed in large amounts at infrequent intervals, much of it passes through the system without adequately penetrating cellular tissues, explains Dr. Cohen. This creates a paradoxical situation where someone can drink the recommended daily amount while still experiencing significant cellular dehydration. The aging impact is substantial. Researchers at the University of California, San Francisco used specialized MRI techniques to measure intracellular water content and found that individuals with low cellular hydration showed approximately 14-37% faster progression of multiple aging biomarkers, including mitochondrial efficiency, inflammatory markers, and DNA methylation patterns. For Michael, whose hydration pattern consisted primarily of large amounts of coffee in the morning, a diuretic, followed by infrequent water consumption and dehydrating alcoholic beverages in the evening, his cells were experiencing chronic molecular crowding despite consuming what appeared to be adequate total fluid volume. We're seeing accelerated aging in tissues even when standard blood tests show normal hydration markers, notes Dr. Cohen. The body prioritizes maintaining blood volume at all costs, even if it means sacrificing optimal cellular hydration in less immediately critical tissues. Stealth ager number 7. The devastating impact of ambient stress absorption. The final, and perhaps most damaging, stealth ager involves what psychoneuroimmunologists call ambient stress absorption, the unconscious internalization of stress from your surrounding environment, particularly digital sources, news consumption, never-present notifications. Dr. Robert Sapolsky, neuroendocrinologist and stress researcher at Stanford University, explains, "We've evolved exquisite systems for responding to acute physical stressors, the proverbial lion chasing us on the savannah. What we haven't evolved is an effective shut-off mechanism for the chronic, abstract stressors that characterize modern life." This distinction is crucial for understanding how the modern American lifestyle creates unprecedented patterns of low-grade, persistent stress response that never fully deactivate. It's not the intensity of these stressors, but their omnipresence that creates accelerated aging, notes Dr. Sapolsky. Research from the University of California, San Francisco's Aging, Metabolism, and Emotion Center has quantified this effect using telomere length analysis. Individuals with high exposure to ambient stressors, frequent notifications, regular consumption of emotionally provocative news, and constant environmental interruptions showed telomere shortening rates equivalent to adding an additional 4 to 7 years of aging per decade of exposure. For Michael, whose typical day involved checking email first thing in the morning, keeping news alerts active on his phone, maintaining multiple communication channels simultaneously open, and ending his day with evening news consumption, this continuous low-grade stress activation was silently degrading his cellular repair mechanisms and accelerating multiple aging pathways. The body cannot distinguish between a genuinely life-threatening event and the stress response triggered by reading troubling headlines or receiving a series of work notifications, explains Dr. Sapolsky. The same physiological cascades are activated, producing identical aging effects at the cellular level. What makes this aging accelerator particularly damaging is how it compounds the effects of all previously mentioned habits. Chronic stress activation fundamentally changes how the body processes calories, responds to sedentary behavior, regulates hydration, and maintains circadian rhythms, notes Dr. Elissa Eppel, psychiatrist and aging researcher at UCSF. It essentially amplifies every other aging pathway. When Dr. Chen analyzed the combined impact of these 7 stealth agers on Michael's biological systems, she estimated a cumulative aging acceleration of approximately 11, 4 years beyond his chronological age, a number that aligns disturbingly well with his experience of physical collapse. The most frightening aspect of these habits is their cultural normalization, emphasizes Dr. Chen. When everyone around you is engaging in identical patterns, they become effectively invisible, just normal life, rather than active choices with profound health consequences. The good news is that these aging accelerators can be systematically addressed through targeted habit modification. When Michael implemented specific countermeasures against each stealth ager, his biomarkers showed remarkable improvement within months. What we're learning about cellular aging is that much of the damage we previously thought was irreversible can actually be significantly repaired when these hidden aging accelerators are identified and modified, explains Dr. Chen. If this information has been valuable to you, I invite you to share in the comments which of these 7 stealth agers surprised you most. Your insight might help others recognize these hidden threats to their own longevity. And don't forget to subscribe for more content that reveals the overlooked factors silently impacting your health span. Together, we can identify and eliminate the hidden habits that are stealing years from your life. Remember, the most dangerous threats to your longevity aren't the obvious ones. They're the small daily patterns that fly beneath your conscious awareness while systematically programming your cells for premature aging.